All right, so quick review on some best practices here. Frame your data governance initiative more like a data help desk project than a documentation project. We're not creating a binder on a shelf that no one's going to look at. We want to focus the energy of our stewards and experts on documenting stuff that is critical and people know from outside of the things that can be automated, and then let requests come in for the rest and make sure that any new requests, anything new that's being built is getting updated as needed. From a points of engagement standpoint, think about how people will search and discover this content or reference and link to it. But if they can't find what they're looking for, how to request that, and then that will go off to the subject matter experts to do processes and update the content. We have a whole separate session on points of engagement that you can look at. When you're thinking about a report request process, you want to have that. Think about making that request from the reporting tool. What we've done is, that's a common thing that our customers do, is they put a little frame on the report using standard HTML that then calls a script that does a lookup in the API, the QuickBook API, and says, hey, is this report documented? Or if it is, then they can click and pull up the documentation. If not, they can click and fill in a form to submit to start that curation process there. Maybe you'll have a place for requests to come in through the website. This when someone's even looking at the doc here that comes up from the cookbook, they can click these things. But you can also just have instructions or a link. But the point is, if someone's looking at the situation where I'm looking at this report, I have a question on it, how do I make that as obvious to that person as possible how to get the help they need, and that they're encouraged and supported for doing that. You also can do all of this by having people go into the cookbook or go into your catalog or go into your own, whatever, and search for those things and then submit requests from within that tool, and that's perfectly fine. But typically for a lot of these catalogs, the people that are in that tool are not your typical data consumers and requesters, right? It's more of your stewards and your developers and creators. All right. Create some templates, good templates for the general requests, but also as you're defining things for the specifications, make sure that you can understand what the standards are for the templates there. We have that whole other session for that. You want to track it. And then lastly, this goes back a long time in this presentation when we were really talking about building specifications for reports, is that a good data request should be a conversation. It shouldn't be like I've submitted this request and then it's just going to come to me as a report writer. I'm going to produce what I think they want and roll it out and close it, right? I want to make sure that I'm building what they're looking for, that I'm using the right definitions, because there's so many assumptions that are buried between what the person who submitted that request thought they meant when they said it and what I think they mean when I wrote it, that we want to make sure we're on the same page for that, and that's a good way to build trust.